Hi, I'm Danny Knightmare.
I'm Gory Movie.
And we're Horror Addicts. Tonight, we are reviewing Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor.
Let the bodies hit the floor. Okay. I actually, I met Drowning Pool right before the original singer passed away, sadly. But I met him. It was cool. Moving on to Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. We just saw this in the theater, and you know what? I was entertained, if anything. Went into it pretty blind. Heard that some people said it was kind of annoying, kind of not horror. But, I think it was entertaining for what it was.
You got Zigma in the chat. Austin530. Have Cheetah will view. Danny Knightmare. That guy's wicked hot. And Kristen Orr, what's up?
What's up, Kristen Orr?
Yeah, so a big part, look at the poster. The poster says this is not a safe space. Obviously, this is a satire, and satire is different than parody. Parody is a lot more over the top. Parody is making fun of something. So it's the difference between Scream and Scary Movie. Scary Movie is a parody. Scream is a satire.
Exactly.
So satire is a lot more subtle, and sometimes people don't get that it's trying to make a point about something in a humorous way. So, yeah, this movie's obviously a satire. You're going to have really annoying Gen Z characters. I don't know. I think some Gen Z people like my son heard about it and they felt a little attacked. But it seems like it's done in a way. I thought it was done in a way that was honest but respectful.
I mean, did the hippies feel attacked when the Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out? I don't know. Maybe they did. But that's just kind of how it is.
It's no more shitting on Gen Z than, I guess, movies in the 90s are shitting on, like, millennials.
Exactly. And the 90s definitely did that. And before that, like I said, you're Gen Xers. So that's just kind of horror movies in general.
Like a movie like Slackers that's talking about Gen X, or how Reality Bites talked about millennials.
Yep.
So how those ones kind of commented on the genre, on the generation. This movie comments on its generation, and I think essentially it's saying in slasher movies there's a lot of kind of outdated things.
Yeah.
You know, like the black guy dies first, or you know, there's just a lot of things that are restricted to like race and gender, and those things are really outdated. You know, and so if you get rid of those things, how do you make a movie like that in our modern day with Gen Z people who are, you know, going to want things to be equal and open and welcoming to everybody? And I think this movie's saying that, yeah, Gen Z, they're as big of assholes as every other generation was. They have different terminology, and on the surface they try to be accepting and tolerant of all people, but they're ultimately, this group of people anyway, are ultimately a bunch of selfish douchebags.
Yeah, and I would say there's a huge chunk of any generation that is like that, and they should somewhat be exposed. Especially people who have a lot of money. These people are very rich. These kids, they're throwing a hurricane party because that's what rich people do. There's a giant hurricane coming. Let's all get fucking wasted and have a big pool party.
It's more common on like really rich, douchey, like rich people than it is on Gen Z even. But it's showing how people of that generation who are really rich are going to use the terminology of the you know, the time to hide behind it. So if somebody makes a point to them like, you're being a dick, they're gonna be like, I'm feeling attacked, I am triggered, and all these things. And the movie's just, it's having fun with it, and I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, you're gaslighting me, you're toxic, and all that stuff. Like, it's just, they throw all the shade at each other to hide behind these terminologies, when none of them truly...
So they don't take blame for anything.
Exactly, none of them ever want to stand up and take any blame for themselves. They're all out for themselves. Once they decide that there's a killer, everyone else is the enemy, and they're all about them and why they're special and they should be saved, and everyone else can kill themselves.
Exactly, and it fits this plot perfectly, because the plot is a game. It's kind of like Mafia or Among Us. I guess the director was a big Mafia fan, and LOLZ was telling me about Mafia a lot. Okay. I've never played that one. I'm familiar with Among Us, but essentially they have this game where you turn off all the lights. Well, before that, you draw cards, and if you have the X, you are the killer. And you turn off all the lights, and if the killer taps you on the back, you need to lay down and be dead. As soon as somebody finds a body, they scream, bodies, bodies, bodies. All the lights come on. They all meet in one room. The dead person cannot say anything, and the rest of the survivors need to figure out who is the killer. So already, and they're like, yeah, every time we play this, somebody ends up crying. This game is like it's intended to like poke fingers and stuff at people.
They really
So
tear
it's a
at
good
each other, like personalities, their
do.
traits, their addictions, all that kind of stuff.
relationships.
Everything comes out, and they just really say why that person's obviously the liar. They're obviously the killer. They just really tear into each other. They're very mean. It's very like playing Among Us. That's the one game like this I played, where everyone is sus, and then everyone, like, it doesn't matter how obvious someone is sometimes. Everyone will just, for whatever, like, popularity reasons, gang up on someone else. It's like...
These are not people who are really friends, and
No.
you get that from the beginning, because our main character, who, surprisingly, I didn't recognize her. I wish I could remember her name, but...
Borat?
Well, yeah, she's one of the two main characters. Her girlfriend, who's in the center of the poster, there,
Oh.
that's Rue from Hunger Games.
Yeah, Rue from Hunger Games.
Yeah, so she hasn't, this is her group of friends, and she hasn't seen these guys in a long time. Pete Davidson's character is her best friend, and they're already like, so why are you back? Why'd you come? You know, you didn't even RSVP and stuff, and she's bringing her girlfriend, and you can tell, like, these people don't even really like each other.
Yeah.
And the outsiders kind of pick up on that pretty early on, the girl from Borat, and then,
they...
Lee Pace,
Yeah.
who is he's older than we are.
Exactly.
He's a Gen Xer,
Yeah.
who's in this mix, and
trying
honestly,
to stay young, apparently.
he's trying to be really nice to them, but pretty quickly he gets tired of their bullshit.
Yeah, you can tell he's there for one main reason, obviously, but all right. But other than that, he hates them, and they hate him. They give him a lot of shit, too.
But it's also kind of poking fun at even that generation, because the Generation X are supposed to be super chill, and like nothing is supposed to get to them. And this guy tries that. He's all namaste in the beginning, and then you can tell that he's about ready to fucking punch someone because he's had enough. So I think it's also exposing like the lies of our generational stereotypes.
Exactly. You know, like I said, he was
And obviously the lie of Gen X is they're supposed to be super woke and accepting, but some of them are assholes, and they'll use that language, but they're not. They're assholes.
right. And like you said, what's his name? You mentioned him, but he's from the Suicide. He gets his face blown off.
Pete
in Suicide
Davidson.
Squad. Yeah, he's in Saturday Night Live, but I love him in Suicide Squad. He gets his face blown off, and yeah, this they just kind of tear at each other. And I admit, kind of being around these characters is a little graining, but they get their kind of comeuppance, and it's very satisfying.
I mean, honestly, there's not too many characters here you really like, but I do feel like there's some audience replacement characters that you're supposed to sympathize with, namely, I can't remember her name, but the blonde girl who was from Borat, Borat 2.
Her name was B.
She was terrific in
like,
Borat.
yeah.
She was amazing in Borat, and in this, she's a lot more soft-spoken. But yeah, she's kind of the audience replacement character because she's new to this group of friends,
And I don't think
so
she's got money. She's the only one that doesn't.
we're experiencing it with them, and yeah, she's not super rich, and she has kind of a codependent relationship with her mother, but we don't know much about her beyond that.
Yeah. Yeah, other than that, they're kind of unlikable characters, but it's fun to watch them kind of turn on each other and accidentally get killed and killed by each other. It's fun.
We've talked a lot about like the themes and the satire, but I mean, this is also a horror movie, and I think themes and satire are only good if you have a good story and you have, you know, a good horror movie too.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it was a good choice to make this kind of a whodunit because that keeps you pretty interested. I don't know otherwise think it would have been. Like, if we knew who the killer was the whole time, I think I probably would have lost a lot of interest. But that was the one thing.
I will not tell you any spoilers, but I'm so proud of myself. I called the ending pretty early on.
Yeah, I mean, slightly modified what you called, but it was
Slightly
pretty
modified.
cool.
I'll give specifics later on, but basically I called what the ending would be, which is, for a lot of people, really unexpected. But I'll get into that later on.
Yeah, I think you actually called what was originally written as the ending. But
I called actually both of them.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I watch too many fucking horror movies.
But yeah, so they're around each other because they're all kind of elitist in status. They're all that rich. One of them brags about how she went from like being kind of poor to rich, but it turns out her parents were always upper, like middle class.
Yeah.
She just slightly moved up a little bit, and so her street cred is not quite what she says it is. But other than that, they're nasty to each other. They're codependent on each other. They are all inagreeable, toxic, and yeah, they all try to gaslight each other. It's kind of funny.
I will say one thing is, they're not likable. The only complaint I had with the characters, I don't need them to be likable, but they were not very well developed.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, you get little nuggets here, and you're like, okay, are we going to explore this girl's relationship with her mom? It seems to be a big deal. She calls her mom a lot. No, it's not going to go fucking anywhere. A lot of these nuggets we get, like, this girl, why hasn't she been around for a while? Nope, we're not going to get an explanation on that. They drop little bits, and I do like that kind of, like, immediate resness of it, because you're dropped into this not knowing anything, and just as if you were hanging out with them, you're not going to get an explanation. Yeah. But if you are somebody like me, where I'm kind of like, okay, we're going to get to know these characters eventually, and you're going to be disappointed, that's something that might bug you.
Yeah, exactly. Zigma Movie Pass is coming back. I don't know. Nice.
I held our spot.
Cool, because we used to have Movie Pass.
Yeah, right now there's a waiting list, and if you had it before, you can hold a spot.
Sweet. We'll have to use that again.
That was awesome when it was starting.
It seemed too good to be true, and sadly, yeah, that's why the company went down, I think, because it was too good to be true, but whatever. Even if it's only goes the same length it went last time, that's a bunch of free movies for us.
Hopefully they worked out of the bugs. So, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I think it lives up to the name pretty well.
Yeah, most of these people are going to be bodies by the end of it. I'm not going to tell you who until we get to the spoiler part.
A lot of dead bodies.
Yeah, lots of dead bodies. And that's basically all I said it needs to
And what do you think of the kills?
Only one of them I feel is really good and memorable. Most of them, sadly, are pretty kind of plain. They're not, like, none of them really stand out except for one. There was a part where someone kind of gets exiled from the house, and I felt like more shit should have happened during that scene, but nothing really did, so that kind of dragged.
They kick someone out of the house into the hurricane. It doesn't really go anywhere. There's a lot of stuff in here where I feel like it was almost like padding the runtime.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay, this is going to go somewhere. This is going to add to the plot. This is going to add... And it doesn't. It's just padding the runtime. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, honestly, the amount of story you have here could have been so much shorter because there is a lot of pissing time.
But that's pretty much what I have to say. I don't think people necessarily need to see this in the theaters. I do think if you are looking for some satire, especially on the modern generation, and you want some of this, and if you like games like Mafia or Among Us, then you probably should check it out. So I'm going to say see it, but I don't think it needs to be seen in the theaters. Honestly, you could see this whenever.
I agree with Dan. A lot of the kills are not that memorable. The action isn't, like, super over the top. Like, it isn't like something like you're on the edge of your seat. There's not a whole lot of suspense. It is fun, though.
Yeah.
It works mostly as a satire, but I mean it does serviceably fulfill the slasher expectations. I think this is a movie you want to see with a group of friends. Yeah. So if you are going to the theater with a group of friends to see a horror movie, this is absolutely the one I would recommend. I also think it plays really well with a group of friends at the house. Beer and pizza.
Bets.
Yeah, I think this is one. It doesn't really matter where you see it, but I think if you're in the mood to watch a movie with a group of buddies, this is a good one to do that with. You're going to have fun guessing who the killer is. Mm-hmm. And I think it might be more fun at home just because you can talk more. But,
friends.
It's also fun if you guys go out to the theater and then go, get a slice of pie afterwards to talk about the film.
Exactly. When we saw it, there wasn't a whole lot of people in the screening that we saw. So we had a good time. And no regrets there. I'm just saying, I'm not going to say you have to see this theater. I think we could have just enjoyed it just as much with a couple of friends at home. We like to usually do a Royal Rumble raffle. I think it would have been kind of fun to do a raffle with this. It's like, hey, who's going to be the killer? See if you can guess. But other than that, yeah, I say see it, but don't, go completely out of your way to do it. It's not like a must-see movie.
I'm going to say see it with friends.
Exactly. So let's get into some spoilers.
Bum, bum,
you have been warned. If you haven't seen this...
So... Mother duckers. I called the ending of this really, really quickly. And I'm going to tell you my secret weapon. Okay, guys, it's been the way with a lot of movies lately. With Scream, with a lot of whodunits. There's a really easy way to find out who the killer is. Who's the named actor? And in this one, they're a bunch of no-named actors, or they've only done a couple little things. Like your gal who plays Bee, she was awesome in Barat, but I still don't know her name.
Yeah.
Not a lot of these people are named actors except for Lee Pace and Pete Davidson. And especially, you know, that it's Pete Davidson's house and everything. I called pretty early on that he was going to be the killer. My thought was that my thought was initially that he faked his death, and that was leading to, or that, you know, that it was leading to everyone else being paranoid and killing each other. But I definitely called that nobody killed him. Yeah. And that everybody else was killing each other out of paranoia.
Yeah, you thought that he faked his death, and it did remind me a lot of Until Dawn, because the first person you find dead basically ends up being the owner of the house. He invited all his friends over, and then he like faked his death. You're pretty close. I thought
he was gonna get up at the end and be like, "What the fuck? It was a joke, you crazy people." But you know that doesn't happen, as you know. He's just an idiot.
Yeah, Okay, so one of the guys, when they're actually playing Bodies, 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 the older guy, he like goes, "No, if you want to see if he's faking," because he acts like he's really dead for sure. But then he goes up to him and he taps him on the nuts with his champagne bottle, and the guy's like, "Oh," because you can't fake. Your ball's being hit.
I thought they were going to do that at the end. And then he was going to like, Yeah. And then they were going to find out that he was faking the whole time. Like, maybe I thought maybe, like, he passed out drunk or something, too, was my other thought.
Or he was just really committed to the bit.
And hit his head, and that he wasn't actually dead. But I really didn't think he was dead, and I knew that nobody killed him.
All right. So nobody killed him, except for he is actually dead. That's the one thing that was different. Yeah. He killed himself. They look in his phone. They find the next day when almost everybody's dead except for two people basically alive. They pull his phone out and they look at it, and he was recording a video of him playing with his dad's sword and trying to open up a champagne bottle with it.
Because Lee Pace had done that, and he felt emasculated.
Exactly. So he was trying to like show that he could do it to himself, and he was probably practicing with himself before he showed everybody else. He sliced his own throat on accident and killed himself.
But
so then everyone else...
Spoilers, they should know that.
Exactly. Everyone else thinks there's an actual killer because he accidentally killed himself. And then they turn on each other and start killing each other for their own petty bickering reasons. Because nobody can trust anybody because they think there's a killer on the loose. When really he just killed himself on accident.
They should know that, hun.
Yeah. It's fucking hilarious. And actually that's the one memorable death. When you see it on the video, that's the one cool death when he actually slices his throat. And everything else was pretty kind of nah.
I think it's funny just because it shows like it reminds me of a lot of like kind of going into the theme, like a lot of the controversies and stuff like lately, when usually there's a lot less to it than people think there is. And in this, they're all like, oh, they're all like, there must be somebody going around killing people, and they're really reading into it. What are their motivations? And it was just a stupid accident. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times when people are trying to cancel people and stuff, you know, sometimes it is legitimate, but sometimes it's just really fucking stupid.
You're
like
looking for it.
The core of it, like you're looking for a problem that's not there. And I think it's kind of like the theme of it is basically that when people are just looking to, you know, point fingers or be upset, and there really isn't a reason for it.
Yeah, they're either...
And how bad that gets.
They basically make witch hunts for no reason. That's what that shit was about in Salem back in the day. There was no ever real reason to do it. They just wanted to go after each other. And anytime they had a little reason to do it, any doubt in each other, and the next generation is no better than the ones before it. Yeah, they're all out for themselves.
They just been real friends and gone there to have a fun hurricane party, this whole movie would have been, it wouldn't have happened.
Exactly, but they weren't friends. They actually do hate. And when someone dies, they all are quick to point fingers, quick to...
They're looking for an excuse to tear each other apart.
Exactly.
And they get one.
And yeah, they all do tear each other apart. And so, yeah, that actually being the ending... That made me like the movie a lot more, actually.
And apparently the original script wasn't so much a satire. It was more straight up slasher. It was actually a snowbound party. And the person, I basically said either nobody killed them and it's Pete Davidson and he's not really dead. Or, and I actually thought the actress was somebody else. I thought it was the girl from, damn it, what's the name of that show? I thought it was a different actress who was on, damn it, I can't remember the name of the show. Okay, I thought it was a different
Shameless?
Shameless. I thought it was the girl from Shameless, the girl who has the glowing necklaces, who kind of ish would have been a big deal, but it's actually not that actress. This is the actress who was in Shiva Baby. So being that I thought she was somebody who was a lead in a pretty popular show that I've never seen, but I know it's popular, I thought she might be. And then I'm paying attention to her, and I noticed in all of their conversations, she's egging people on. She's pushing people, but she's doing it real subtle. And so I thought, well, that would be really clever writing. And it turns out in the original script, it was a straight up slasher, and she was the killer. And I think that's why some of that stuff is still there.
Yeah, I don't think they took it out of the script. Makes her very sus the entire time. But yeah, like I said, it being a stupid accident at the ending, it was like a perfect way to make this a satire, because I'm like, you know what? That was worth it. That's actually what sold me on liking this movie. I don't think it was super amazing or anything, but it gave me a satisfying ending for sitting through all that. So,
anyway, if you saw it, you can get spoilery in the comments. Just don't reveal who the killer is for anyone who hasn't seen it. But yeah, like, what are your interpretations? I think the fun thing about this movie is, that's my interpretation, that's his interpretation, but you might have your own, and I think it's a fun movie to talk about afterwards. I think if it was a straight-up slasher, this would be extremely forgettable. The satire is what makes it stand out. Like, I would give this a good 3.5 stars.
Yeah, I would give it somewhere around 3.5 stars. But mostly, just like I said, that ending, all right, I liked that. There was a lot of, in the middle, I felt was just padded runtime. The beginning, you kind of getting to know everybody, and everybody kind of sucks. But, I had a satisfying conclusion. I felt like I sat through it, and I was rewarded at the end, at least.
I feel like if you're looking for something that's actually scary, though, if you're looking for something more slasherly in vein of, like, something from the 90s, like I Know What You Did Last Summer, or classics like Halloween or Friday the 13th, this is not that movie.
No, definitely not. Hey, Strange Monkey Reviews, how you doing, buddy?
Strange Monkey!
Zigma says he thinks my shirt is awesome. Yes, it's a haluva boss, and, well, hell of a boss, whatever you want to pronounce it
I
as.
like Luna.
Yeah, Luna's probably my favorite.
I do too.
But I like all.
I have a Gory movie shirt.
Exactly. And they're having a pool party, and, they're demons from hell. I felt you kind of figured this hurricane party with people who are all going to hell.
And just side note here, I know you're probably going to do a video eventually. Hopefully I'll do a video eventually. But we saw a little hidden gem, Disco Path. You can catch that on Tubi. That was a good little movie. It's by the same guy who did Aqua Slash. So, I don't know. A lot of people didn't like that, but we liked it.
Yeah, Aqua Slash is like one of my most popular reviews on my channel. So
I liked Aqua Slash a lot. I think that movie's going to be a cult classic someday.
And Monster Face told me he called dibs on doing Disco Path, and as soon as it's not completely unbearable in my man cave to film in there.
Good. It's a lot like Silent Night, Deadly Night. You remember how, like, Billy is triggered by Christmas and then they force him to dress up as Santa Claus, and it's too much, and he goes on a killing spree. This guy is triggered by disco music, or really any kind of music, and so if something like that plays around him, he's triggered, and then he starts killing people. But they're such cool, like, set pieces, and it's set in the 70s and then in the early 80s, and they worked really hard. For this low-budget movie, they worked so hard to make it look like that time period. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of the budget went into, making every car and every suit.
And getting Kiss.
Yeah. Kiss.
They have a Kiss song at the end.
That's because Kiss did a disco.
I was made for loving you, baby.
All right, before Kiss sues us. Peace out. Thanks for watching. More to come soon.
Yeah, we're probably gonna do more new releases over here and on my channel. If you want to join me on Friday, I've got some friends on. We're gonna be talking about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, which I'm a big fan of. I know Lee from Drum Dumps is too, and we've got Adam from Almost Sideways.
Yeah, that's
and Killjoy Jake. So that's gonna be really fun. And then Sunday is it? Yeah, this Sunday we've got Fight Night again with Danny, who's over on my channel, and Becky. And this is the one a lot of people have been waiting for. It's vampires.
Vampires.
Hashtag old dude vampire.
I want to bite your finger.
Ariel, I am so excited for Pearl too. I actually have a feeling I'm gonna like Pearl more than X, because the one thing I didn't like in X was the old lady makeup, but everything else I really liked.
Yeah, I think they still should have got like an actual older actress to play her as an adult, and then just got the same girl from X to play her as a young Pearl. But other than that, good stuff. Can't wait to see it.
I think it's just a cool idea. Like, you know, you have extra time and money. Let's do another movie. I just think it's cool. It's a
I
cool
wish
origin
that I
story.
could have that problem where I had the budget, like, oh, too much budget? Let's make 2 movies.
But I feel like a lot of filmmakers wouldn't think to do that. They would either, you know, return the money, or they'd spend it on like more special effects and stuff that you don't need, or some CGI or something stupid. And they're like, no, let's do another movie. So I think that's really cool.
That's what I would want to do. More movies. Make them all. All right. Thanks, guys, for watching, and more stuff coming soon.